Dr. Angela Winter with Horn and More, the digital newsletter that accompanies IHS. I am joined today by Denise Tryon. We're so excited to have you here, Denise.
I'm
Um,
excited to be here. Thanks.
I think we all know Denise from her wonderful career. She is currently the Associate Professor of Horn at Indiana since 2023. Prior to that, she was at the Cincinnati Conservatory and the Peabody Institute in Baltimore. She has a wonderful orchestral career, most recently the Philadelphia Orchestra's Fourth Horn, also positions with Detroit, Baltimore, Columbus, and with New World Symphony. We know her from her solo playing. She has three CDs that have been published: Solo, A Pair of Aces, and Hope Springs Eternal, which won the American Prize in 2022. And of course, we know her from the American Horn Quartet that she officially joined in 2019. Um,
Yes.
Denise, welcome. So glad to
Thank
have you here.
you. Thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Okay, so I think we know you as the low horn, like goddess, ethereal creature of all time.
Well, thank you. That's my new title. I love it.
How'd you get there? Were you always a low horn player? Of course, if you've listened to any of your playing, we know that you can do it all. But can you tell us a little bit about that low horn special superpower that you have and how you got there and found it?
Sure. So, no, through college, through New World, I was pretty much a high horn player. And I actually took high horn auditions, made it to the finals of a few times, a few auditions. And as I was ending my time at New World, as I was coming to the end of it, um, I just needed to start taking every audition I could. And so the first low horn audition I took was Columbus Symphony, and I ended up winning it. Um, After a couple of months on that job, I realized how much happier I was playing low horn and that it just really fit my personality well. And I would say specifically fourth horn is a little bit better of a fit for me than second horn, although I play second horn quite a bit. Um, and then it just became about trying to continually make that register better and better. So then it's just been about doing fundamentals and different things to challenge me to continue to improve that register.
Well, on the subject of fundamentals, you've published your routine, a low horn
Yes.
routine, and
Yep.
it's quite extensive. And it's not just for low horn,
No, it's not.
but it devotes some time there.
Yes.
So that leads me to my next question, a little bit about your personal playing, but also in your teaching. How do you approach? I know when I did it, because I think we play them all, but I think I mostly play higher parts.
Yeah.
I found myself like that was a heavy lift in the low
Yeah.
register to then go play principal horn somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you approach different parts of your playing because you are a solo artist, chamber artist, orchestral artist? Or
Right.
do you do that whole routine every day? Do you approach students that are high horn players or low horn players differently? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do it every day, but I mostly do it every day because it makes me feel like now I'm back at square one for the day. So every day you wake up, your face just feels a little bit different. How you slept, what you ate, how much water you drank or didn't drink. Um, the kind of temperature, if it's really dry, if it's really humid. And so when I finish that routine, I feel like, okay, now I know exactly where my face is. And some days that's just a little harder to get through it. Some days the routine feels really rough, and other days it feels really easy. And that definitely has, as I've gotten older, that has definitely been more the case. Like I feel like, things are not as straightforward. Um, I want all of my students, just like I am my own student, so I require this of me, that I am as versed through the entire register as I possibly can be. So, sometimes my students will go to a festival and get dubbed as the low horn player, but they might not actually be all that great in the low register. But because they are proficient in the low register, then they get sort of dubbed that way. And that's just because I really require my students to be as proficient as they can be everywhere. So if somebody has a really great low register, I will be working heavily with them on becoming a much better high range player. and vice versa. If somebody does not have a great low range but is excellent in the high range, at some point you have to play Shostakovich in an audition for the most part to be able to win. So you can't go in there and play a subpar Shostakovich for a principal horn audition and expect to win. So for me, it's really about finding that balance. And one of the things that I always tell my students is that, first off, there's a difference between a warm up and a routine. A warm up is something you do in 2 to 3 to 5 minutes to make sure you're not going to get hurt when you play the horn. A routine covers as many of the fundamentals as possible. So high range, low range, loud, soft, articulation, slur, flexibility, lip trills, all the extended techniques. You could put flutter tongue in there. You could put stopped horn in there. You could put multiphonics in there if you wanted. Um, I can't think of anything else right now. So just to be sure that you're covering all of that. And in my opinion, that type of a routine, if it takes more than about 45 minutes, I don't know, it just feels like a big ask to do that every day. Like you have to do an hour of something before you can go play anything else. So when somebody starts my routine, it probably takes them about 45 minutes, maybe even a little longer. But really, once you get used to playing it, it maybe only takes you 25 or 30 minutes. And that, for me, that's a really nice length. Um, so I always tell my students just play it through. Don't practice it, just play it through. The point is to get better day by day, month by month, year by year. Some people love to play the same routine every day. That is me. Some people absolutely can't stand to do that. So have either a series of exercises that really work for you and you can kind of rotate through them, or have different routines that you like, and every few days or every week go to another routine. That way you keep things fresh and you keep things interesting. Um, I hear enough in my playing when I do this routine that it's fresh and I know exactly what I need to be working on. So,
That's a great answer. I love that distinction between a warm up and a routine.
yeah,
And that those have two different functions and two different purposes, so with two different mindsets.
right.
I also like the thought of kind of knowing what you're. I do think that most of us come built with one register and then we have to develop the other one. There may be
Yeah,
special creatures that came with all of it, but it seems like most people are in one register and have to work on the other. So if
yeah.
I'm sort of reading what you said correctly, you sort of identify what they came built with, and then you really focus on the thing that they need to cultivate. To
Yeah, I mean, for all of us, we have things, it doesn't matter. It could be that somebody's really great at loud playing, but their soft playing is not as developed. So wherever your weaknesses are, that's what I'm going to focus on. And I had a student come to me, this is many years ago, and I always tell this story to my own students, and came to me and said that they were not finding joy around the instrument. And so I was like, okay, so what's going on? And they said, well, you only ever assign things that I can't play. And I was in my brain, I was like, what? Um, and I said, well, yeah, that's how you get better. And this student said, well, I think I need to play something that just makes me a little bit on the happy side as well. And that's when I realized, and this sounds really stupid, but that not everybody is me. Like I am happy with the horn when I'm working on things that I cannot do, because that means that I'm learning and I'm getting better. But some people need just a little bit of like reminder about why do they love the horn? Is it the sound? Is it the beautiful music that's happening around the horn. So if you're that person that needs a little bit of reminder why you play the horn, maybe that's 15 minutes a day to just play something that you love. Maybe that's one day a week where all you do is play something that you love, and the rest of the time you work on the aspects of your horn playing that need developing, because otherwise those things are always going to be your weaknesses.
That's great advice. It really is. It's a great way to look at it. Just making sure that we don't get, I think that that leads to not getting burnt out, but also not avoiding things that ultimately will impede us. I interviewed you in with the American Horn Quartet a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
you said something that I thought was just so magical. You said, because I do think a lot of it's about mindset and just staying
Mm,
positive with the things we can't do. And you
yeah,
said something there that really struck me. Instead of you just said be curious rather than being judgmental, like, oh, that no doesn't work. Why? Being
yeah,
curious. And I think that that speaks to that mindset as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, I have to give credit to Ted Lasso on that one. So it's a good one because we all, I think, in every aspect, I don't know about every, most aspects of our life, it's really easy to latch onto the thing that didn't go well when we're trying to learn something new, or if we're, making dinner and something doesn't go quite right. That's the thing we focus on instead of, okay, well, now I know don't leave the garlic in for too long because then it burns. It's not great. So it's ironic that I'm talking about food because I'm a terrible cook. So uh,
Again, going to the thing you're not the strongest at. I love
that's
it.
right. That's right. Well, also, when there are things that you want to improve, try to find the most positive way to talk about that. Get curious about, well, how did I make that sound? Because you never know when somebody might want you to make that sound again. So I think just continuing to look at those things and be curious about how to change them if you want to change them.
I think that's wonderful and really helpful. Um, let's see. So shifting a little bit, you do have you do have your solo playing does feature a lot of low stuff, and these three recordings that we talked about are great examples of that. With one being the duet, a pair of aces. Um, on those, on two of those at least, you have a lot of commissions. Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit, and that feature low horn and contemporary low horn playing, solo playing? Can you talk a little bit about maybe how you approach, how do you start the commission process? Do they come to you? Do you go find, how does that work?
Yeah, it used to be on my first album on solo, I approached everybody. And then after that, I started getting people sending me things and or reaching out to me. And I always try when I'm thinking about an album, I always try to commission people of a wide variety of experience and just trying to get some interesting flavors in there. And the reason I started commissioning pieces is because there's not much out there in the solo world that's specifically written for low horn. And I gave a recital in '08 or '09, and I wanted to feature the register that I had grown to love. And I was like, oh wow, there's really not much out there. So that's when I was like, well, maybe I need to start commissioning. And I waited a really long time. So that was like '08 or '09. And then I started reaching out to people in maybe 13, late 13, early 14. And at some point I said to myself, well, they're not just going to come ask you if they can write a piece for you. You're going to have to reach out to them. And the first person I talked to was Andrea Clearfield. And I reached out to her because Freudis had said, oh, well, I know she was working on this piece and it sort of with tuba, it sort of fell through. Maybe that might work. And so I reached out, and when we started talking about how long do I want it to be, or is there anything I want to do or I want to avoid? Um, all of that was pretty clear in my mind, but then when we talked about price, that was not clear. And so I remember saying to her, "Look, I really don't want to offend you with anything I say." And so that's what I was really nervous about. But it's all a negotiations, and so you can talk about everything. One thing I really didn't want to have was a bunch of low stopped. That's not it's not great for me. And so it's like if I was going to do that, I needed to have time to put in a stop mute, and I'm talking really like like Shostakovich range. Because I thought, boy, that might be something somebody would do, and so that's something that But I also wanted a variety of levels of um, intensity. That's not quite the right word, but a level of difficulties, so that I want to give students, like younger students, something to practice besides maybe etudes in this register that they can feel like they can actually do. And then there are some that are quite advanced. So I wanted to be sure that there was a wide range of that as well.
That's so thoughtful. That speaks to you as an artist, but also as an educator, I
Yeah,
think. I know Tanguito is a student favorite, mine too.
yeah, yeah,
I think that's one of those that's accessible to lots of people, and it's so fun. It's
yeah,
fun to play there.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
really is.
Well, speaking of as an educator, you recently ha just told us all, I think about a month ago, about your expansion and addition of the Chantal.
Yeah.
And I know that you have, I know that that's a really important method book for you. And so I want to ask you, why did you expand it? What did you expand? Why is it important to you? And also, I want to know about Chantal Saturdays.
Yeah, right. So it's probably the first or second book that I ever owned as a student. And I'm talking when I'm, 13 or 14. Um, and my teacher, my private teacher when I was in that age, middle school, gave it to me. And I think the other book was Coprage, which is also a really important book for me. And I love the fact that it was important to her, and it's so fundamental. So there's a section on every single key, and there are exercises on the scale of that key: the third, the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh octave, ninth, tenth, double octaves, and then you go into um, arpeggios and, yeah, dominant seventh, diminished seventh, all this kind of stuff. And the problem for me with that book is that it was riddled with mistakes. You would be going along in a pattern, and it would be going up by, within the scale of that pattern, and then suddenly it would jump a fourth. And I was like, well, what happened to those two or three measures where we're supposed to be climbing up? Um, or it would just have incorrect notes all over the place. And then some keys would have all of the exercises that I just listed. But then as you got later into both sharps and flats, so the last two keys of both sharps and flats would have an exercise on the scale, on the arpeggio, and maybe like the minor scale and then dominant or and diminished seventh. And that's it. Nothing else. And I was like, well, these are the keys that we all kind of struggle with. We need to have all of this. So I wanted to make sure that every key was uniform. So now they all cover up to tenths plus double octaves. So that was the first thing. Then also correcting mistakes. And then he didn't go low enough and at times high enough. So there are times when I've expanded it higher and times when I've expanded it lower. Um, because of the era when it was originally written, I wrote it with old notation bass clef. So I'm sorry, everyone. Even in bass clef, there are a ton of ledger lines. So that's a little bit of a problem. But I wanted to stay true to that era. And Chancel Saturdays, um, it came out of a discussion I had with teachers at Indiana about, oh, when we get to your upper divisional, which is where sophomores have to play in front of all faculty in order to be able to move on into the upper class of their degree. And scales were a problem, which is surprising to me. And we'd have to do major and minor scales. So I thought, okay, well, I will start doing this class, and that way everybody's getting, their feet wet in every key. It's not mandatory. It's volunteer. If people want to show up, it is 9 a.m. on a Saturday, so that's always a little rough. Um, but we have a good time, and we play a key together, and I'll talk about intonation or using your air, and so it does become definitely a moment for me to be teaching as well. And yeah, we have a great time. Sometimes we get a little crazy, but it's all in really good fun.
Do you all does everybody play together? Do you throw a metronome on and we just
I
do it?
don't I don't put a metronome on there, which is surprising because I love the metronome. But I really want everyone to start really feeling that pulse together. So we all play together. We sit in a really big circle and we all play together. And yeah, and I'll talk through where we're going to take breaks because it can be quite tiring to play through a whole key in a day, which is pretty much what I do for the past I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 years, I've played a key of chantal every day. It's really helpful.
Well, that sounds like something that, maybe we don't get to go to Indiana, but it sounds like
Yeah,
something we can all do. And I
yeah,
do love the group aspect of that too, because you'll show up for your buddies, but you might not show up for yourself.
right, exactly.
Yeah. And of
Yeah.
course, that shuntle is available on your website. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It's yep, that's what it looks like.
With our octopus. I got to ask you, how'd you fall in love with
Sure.
octopi?
I don't There's a little bit of a disagreement in the household about how I started to become so like obsessed with them. Um, I for a long time I just I haven't worn it in a little while, but my husband got me a necklace that's like a octopus cut out of brass, and I said, well, I started becoming obsessed with them after you got me that present. He said, I would never have gotten you that present if you weren't already obsessed by them. I'm like, well, that's true. So I think I must have read an article, and they're just really interesting creatures. So yeah, and then somebody gave me after a Beethoven 9, somebody gave me a little cheap like costume ring that had it was a little blue octopus, and so I was never going to wear it as a ring. So I took it off and we attached it to a part of a pencil clip, and that's probably the octopus that's the most well known that lives on my horn. But now I had three or four that I
Huh.
sort of rotate out.
So we don't know which came first, the obsession or the gifts,
I
but
don't know, yeah, but yeah,
I
the
love
chicken
it.
and the egg.
As our time's almost up, I'd love to ask you a little bit about what you're excited about for the future. What projects do you see up and coming that sort of
Yeah.
thrill you and excite you?
Yeah, so one of the big ones is that for I could definitely say my whole career, but even before that, sometime when I was in college, I got this idea that I really want to record Bach cello suites. And I love them. I love Bach, my favorite composer by far. And I just really felt nervous about doing it. I wasn't sure that I was a good enough musician. I just kept sort of pushing it off. I'll become a better musician. And at some point, I want to do it while everything's still working well. So I was originally going to record the Wendell Haas keys because we all know them, and I was talking to someone and they were like, well, it might be interesting for you to do your own transcription. So that's what I have done. And I've only done 1 through 5 because 6 is a level of crazy that I'm not there yet. I think some of my friends would argue for that point. But um, so I am doing two of the keys are the same key as the Haas one, and then after that, 1, 3, and 4 are in different keys from either the original cello key or the Haas version. And yeah, so I'm doing my own transcription, and then I've recorded all 5 of them. I finished that in May, I believe. Um, so I think that should come out in the early part of 2026, both the recording and the transcriptions. So yeah, so that's the thing. It's like a lifelong goal for me to do that. So I'm really excited about that. And the other thing that just sort of happened is when I was with just a few weeks ago, I was doing the World Horn Summit in Japan, and it was a fantastic group of people, and playing all of that. But we did actually make a recording of one of the concerts, so I'm really excited for that to come out, mostly because I just want to see how it sounds. I also think that's early 26.
So, and we will look for that at 2026.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep that on our radar. So tell us a little bit about the American Horn Quartet. You became officially a member in 2019. Can
Yeah.
you just tell us a little bit about what's exciting about that? Because it's going through quite a few changes now.
Yeah, right. So we have 2 new members, Todd Bowermaster and Jay Faree. And so with this new version of this group, we really wanted to try and do even a little recording to try and get out sort of what the sound of the American Horn Quartet is right now. So yeah, just a little bit ago, we released first a video of Bach Fugue, a video of it. And then we also did 2 other pieces. So the Bach, Bruckner, and a piece by Walt Perkins. All 3 of those pieces are available for streaming as well as for downloads. Yeah, and that just came out. So that the name of the album, for lack of a better word, is called Airs and Inventions, and it's a really great recording. Yeah,
Airs and Inventions, and we can
Airs and
find that on
Inventions.
the American Horn Quartet website, or
Actually, I would assume that because Christina will be taking care of that, but it's on our socials and it's also so if you look us up, American Horn Quartet plus Airs and Inventions on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, so it's available pretty much anywhere streaming is.
awesome, exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Great.
Okay, so so where can we find these wonderful offerings that are coming out? Where can we find you? I know that you do a lot of master classes. You sometimes teach at different festivals, and I know
Mhm.
that that's a rotating schedule. Sometimes it's not
Yeah.
like always on the faculty at one place. If someone wanted to find you either to maybe come attend one of your master classes or your summer festivals, or to find these wonderful new things coming out, where can we find you?
Right. So every summer I do the Orford Winds, which is up in Orford, Canada, and it's 2 weeks long, but I'm only there for 1 week. So they take the faculty and you're there for one of the weeks. And at times it's been wind quintets and at times it's been wind octets. So I don't know what next year's going to be. I'm sort of assuming it'll be octets, but I don't know that for sure. And it's just a really, I love that festival. It's beautiful part of the world. And you get a master class every day with the person that, your faculty member, and then you get coached every single day. And so, yeah, it's a really great festival. And then I sort of rotate through a few. I have been going to Rafael Mendez for the past 8 or so years, something like that. But I have actually just decided to stop that, so I won't be there this next summer. But I've done NOI in the past, and I've done NYO, and apparently only things with N, and a few others. But yeah, it'll sort of. I just got back from Lieksa, which is in Finland, so there are a few things throughout that I do. This next year, I will be doing a brass day at Central Michigan University. That's in, I think, September. And then I am doing a brass day or weekend at Interlochen, both Michigan. So interesting on that. And then from time to time, I go around and play with orchestras. And sometimes if there's a conservatory or university, I'll give a master class on top of that as well.
That's great. So we can just keep up with your socials to see where we might
Yes.
find you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Denise, thank you so very much. This was
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And I look forward I look forward to all of it. So all the things
Will.
upcoming.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.